Good evening. Welcome to Waking God's Child YouTube channel. I am here with my co-host Candy Nelson, and we are coming to you live right now. How are you, Candy?
I'm here.
It's been 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks since we've been here, but we are here now, and I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be back, and I've missed Candy tremendously. So her and I were just talking about tinctures and soaps and stuff that she makes herself as well. And while I was in Oregon over the holiday, I was talking with my daughter about some of that stuff. And I mean, everyone these days is starting to realize that those kind of products, the homegrown, homemade, organic type products, are necessary. And not only are they necessary, they're enjoyable and they're soothing and they're better than what you can buy at any store. And so, with that said, people are at least starting to realize that. And I don't know anyone in my world that makes stuff better than that, than Candy Nelson does, but it kind of fit with the topic tonight of what we're discussing. Just due to our circumstances in this world and the things that we're going through. So, with tonight's topic being pathogens, plagues, and the powers that be. So, but we don't have to let the powers that be all the time. And there are little steps and little things that we can do. Right, Candy? Like, it just
and
reinforced me here.
and we don't have to pay a flipping arm and a leg for a little less than a quarter of an
True.
ounce tube of stuff
Yes,
for
yes, exactly.
15.85. I was so
It's
mad.
it's insanity. Like, you go to any grocer to buy your non-GMO, what they say non-GMO product, or organic, which we all know that is not really possible. But hey, what do I know? Long story short, though, yeah, you're going to pay an arm and a leg, and everyone avoids that aisle that says non-GMO or organic, or the health food aisle, because they know that they're going to pay probably 2 to 3 times as much. But the thing is, people can do these things themselves, and Candy's living proof of that, and she's taught me a lot as well. But I mean, I've always been a gardener, so I've grown my own garden for years. But there's simple steps that you can do, and then there's a little more lengthy steps that you can do without having to pay an arm and leg. It just takes a little bit of time and effort, right, Candy?
Yep.
Or in her case, probably lots of time and effort. I'm gonna try to change this layout here real quick so that we're not like on top of each other. I just feel that's really feels weird
That's
right now.
that.
But let's see. Okay, did I do it? Yeah,
There
there
you
we go.
go.
I put you a little. Okay, there we go. We're good now. That feels more normal. But so again, tonight's topic being pathogens, plagues, and the powers that be. I know that there's a lot of talk and videos being put out right now, and no one's a stranger to the rain. But we've heard recently about this fog that's seemingly covering certain areas. The drone topic has been there for a while now. We're hearing recently people talking about things coming from the sky, possibly coming from the behind of a air, AIRCRAFT. And they're talking about nanoparticulates falling into animals' watering bowls and dishes, and how there's videos on it, which I've seen. They're clinging together and making formations and acting as if there's a mind of their own, because well, there quite actually is. But I just want to point out one thing. This is something we've been screaming for years, like years. Like, everyone's acting like these things that are happening, the drones, the trails up above, and things falling down, and particulates, and the fog, and all, they're acting like this is just suddenly new. No, it's not. What's happened is people's eyes are maybe starting to open a little, but Candy can tell you, I can tell you, this has been ongoing for years, my friends, and there is nothing new under the sun. And Candy has, like, this woman's face was on a billboard, okay? On a billboard telling you about it. Bye bye blue sky. Hello. That was 20 years ago, Candy. Was it about that long ago or a little less?
It hasn't been that long. Let me think. This is what it was probably 10 years ago.
I mean, but like that, this is why are we just now? Why are people just now cluing in and just now talking about it? And it's just mind blowing to me. And isn't it to you too? It's like we've been screaming it forever, and everyone called us crazy. We're wearing tinfoil hats, which I wear mine beautifully, by the way, and you're welcome. But I mean, and then all of a sudden now, drones. It's like whatever the
Hmm.
media
But
pushes, then
have
people
you
listen.
thought have you thought about this though? This is what I've been thinking about with the drone situation. Maybe it's the good guys putting the drones up there so people will look up.
It could very well be, except for what I saw those drones doing, spraying out the same things. And I think there's a little of both. I really do. I think you're right. And so, to some level. And hello, Gator. He says, hello, lovely ladies. Great to see you both. Happy New
Hey,
Year to you too. And Gator is another, as we know, he's my fellow New Mexican. Just like grew up just down the road from me, oddly enough. Except for I'm older, but don't tell anyone. I did break my hand snowboarding over the break, but I did snowboard though. I did, and I did it, and I did it pretty well until that. So, but long story short, Gator looks up all the time. He knows. We're watching cloud movement with frequency, with him doing his jams, and he's seeing the strange, the high strangeness, and the low strangeness, and the everyday strangeness. It's there. And Gator, since you're here right now, I would love to pick your brain on this too. Are you noticing any of the what some are calling quote unquote drones in the sky? Have you noticed them for a while? Are you noticing anything unique or different about them? Because I've seen some high strangeness for sure. So I'm just curious, and any of you watching, if you have witnessed or observed any of these, because again, we know it's been going on much longer than what they say, way longer than what they say. It's just that suddenly, all of a sudden, someone got a wild hair, like, oh yeah, they're spraying something out the back end of those aircrafts, and oh yeah, there's nanoparticles. It's like, hello, Harold Kautz has been talking about this for years. Morgellons people like us who suffer have been talking about this for freaking years. Chemtrails, falling down, con artist trails, whatever you want to call them, with the webbing covering Candy's yard, one day. I've witnessed the little balls, the little white fibrous balls, and they're like, oh, those are spittle bugs. They're like, spittle bug my butt. That's not even the season, and there's no bug and no spittle. It's clearly mycelium and many other things. But um, so yeah, he says New Mexico born and still stuck. You're not stuck, dear. I miss it. I would love to go back. I am not a Texas girl. I feel like I'm stuck here. I can't even explain. I feel like I am on another planet living in Texas, and I deeply miss my New Mexico. He said only today had to get lots of spraying though for a month. So it's just, of course, we're bordering each other, Texas, New Mexico. Right, it's foggy, and I am experiencing that fog as well. And I just told Candy right before we came on, and you guys just wait till you see this. I walked outside just a few minutes ago, and I looked in the sky. The sky is just kind of like not hazy over, and then there's this what it looks like a little sliver of a moon, but it's not the moon, and not where a moon should ever be, and nowhere close to acting like a moon, spinning around doing some very unique things, then turning into a cloud that's kind of glowing. And yes, supernatural for those of you that are tuning in saying she crazy. She not my video here in a second, but I'm going to show you guys. Like tonight was some high strangeness for me. Like it's always strange, but tonight was really strange. And then, as you all know, my recent video in Oregon, not just in Oregon, but from my trip leaving Texas to Oregon on the Santiam Highway, nothing but quote unquote drones. And y'all, I'm sorry, drones up there. And I think that I also think some of these things are not drones because they behave in a way that when you're looking out your airplane window and you see them lift something and then disappear right in the air or shoot off faster than the speed of an eye, there's something way bigger going on. But so Candy, have you noticed anything different? Or I would like for you, if you don't mind, telling your experience with the webbing that was covering everything outside. I think you were talking about it
no,
like on the railing. Was it your
that was
daughter's?
no. We had a huge hurricane here. This was years ago. Well, it was probably, I don't know, back in 2010 or something like that. And we evacuated. And so we come back. This was like when I used to evacuate. But anyway, I came back. My husband had to go to work. So I just decided I was going to drive around the neighborhood. We have a lot of farmland. The webbing was like covering all the farms. I mean, just completely covered the farms. It was
Wow.
going from like power pole to power pole, just strings. It was just everywhere. And I was just like, oh my God. And I see the farmers out there on their tractors, after the storm, trying to get it all plowed up and everything. And I'm like, they're just driving over all that webbing. And I was like, oh my God, it was insanity. I just never
Same with them.
seen such a mess. Oh God.
And that was a long time
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
That's why I'm having a hard time getting it through just now coming up with these concepts. Of course, we know how media works, but we also know that this is living proof, in my opinion. There is an agenda at hand. Because don't tell me they haven't known this forever. And yes, other people are just noticing. I realize that because I think people are slowly escaping the matrix. They're slowly waking up and seeing the truth and seeing through the lies. Pay attention, but they wouldn't have had the media not pushed the agenda, not pushed for them to look up. While we are looking up what's actually going on now below. I mean, because it's a game, and why our heads are turned, they're always doing something naughty. I mean, always. And Gator
Yeah.
said that he had got a great capture of a light orb a few nights ago while he was going on a walk. And see, to me, like, I totally relate constantly. And I know it, but I mean, I'm not the only one experiencing it. They seemingly follow you everywhere. You're noticing them a lot more too, Gator, if you haven't already. And then he says, oh my God, Andy, did I just not say this like right before we got in here? He says, hear very odd and distinct to it, like no other smell before. I just said that. You'll hear it on my video tonight. I'm like, the air smells weird tonight. I'm like, it is like a combination of, I can't even think, like somebody burning wood and nail polish. Explain what it smells like, but it smells like no other. I just said the same thing. That's crazy, Gator, that they're in New Mexico, again, bordering Texas, but we're still, at least I think we're about 16 hours away from each other still at this point, that we are seeing and smelling and experiencing the same thing but tonight, and like you said, just today, like this is the first time I've seen that fogginess here in a while. But I mean, like what they're talking about firsthand, that a few people here have got the COVID a second time. Yeah, well, here in Texas, my dad's had it 3 times. Keep in mind, going in line to get vaxxed because they didn't want to get their elderly and sick, which I don't know if it's just plain stupid, selfless, or just dumb on both ends. I don't know. I'm unvaxxed. I'm not knocking anyone that was vaxxed. I refuse. I would never knock anyone that got vaxxed. I understand. But I mean, I worried about my parents getting it, but I'm unvaxxed, and it's just some people have had it 3 and 4, some have had it 5, and it's almost always the ones that were vaxxed that got it so many times. This new flu, this swine, sorry, I think it's the bird flu now, and the thing is morphing and changing, and they're saying, well, it's going to be able to get into level in the human form of it. We have to ask ourselves that question as well. Why is it doing that? How is it doing that? You've got to know any virus, first of all, is always man-made. Viral is made. It's like a computer virus. Well, a human virus is no things that are naturally created. Bacteria, of course, is natural. We already know this. Fungal matter, that's natural, but virus is always man-made. And why are they doing this? What are they up to? Yeah, you said you had no fog here at night, or there at night. So that's what's weird too. I'm not seeing fog. Looks like it could be fog, but there's only here and there, and it smells so weird. And yes, okay, he said it's a mildewy stench. I think you're right. It's just it's a strange smell, but it smells like a saturated, mildew, chemical smell to it. And Gator, I'm so glad that you're anti-vax. Also, I would encourage, if I would have known, Candy, years ago, you had showed me one time that we were growing up, they gave the one the smallpox.
Smallpox.
They used
Yep.
to have us, yeah, and you
Yep.
had issues with that not long ago, right?
Right.
If I would have
It's
known,
like
I would have never vaxxed my children ever, you know. But what was the
well,
deal with the smallpox?
it turned into a Morgellons lesion right on circular, right where that vax
That's
went.
right.
And I was like, what the heck?
And you know, and it was pox scar did this. It came to an open lesion. Of course, you don't believe in Morgellons, but yeah, that's right. That's what it was.
And that was
And it
back
makes you wonder. It's like, okay,
and that was back in the 60s
that's
when I
just
got
crazy.
that, you know, and I'm like, all of a
Yeah.
sudden I got a lesion. It was perfectly round in the exact same spot where I had that smallpox vax.
We would be silly to not question, not wonder, and not actually believe these things to us. I mean, after all, Satan is the ruler and the leader and the principalities of evil here on earth, in the air, and all around. And it was written. And we would be dumb to think like we're just nations fighting among nation and color, race against, because it's never been about that, because we are all brothers. It's been a battle for your soul, and that's
Hey,
always going to be. But I
and I'll
just
tell
know
you
that we
something.
have a full armor. Sorry?
I'll tell you something else too. Back when I believed in Big Pharma, okay, and I was following all my doctor's orders, I used to have to
Yeah.
give myself injections in my stomach and my thighs. And so that was the last one I had was in 2009. I still have little black specks where I gave myself those injections on my stomach and my legs that have
Right.
never went away. And it was just like, oh, it's just a bruise. I'm like, I'm sorry, but a bruise don't last for what? You're talking about
Mm-hmm.
16 years ago. You know, I'm like, no.
That's exactly right. Well, I've talked about this many times as well. We had a lot of our youth, children, who I don't know any other way to say this, but many became gender confused. Maybe I'm trying to figure out a way to put this in a polite manner, because I have a child that ended up like this, and it was about, I don't know, like a couple of months right after the HPV vaccination. Who always loved boys, was a very girly girl, loved little dresses and tutus, and I'm gonna just speak of this out loud, like I should, because it's nothing to be ashamed of. I believe some certain things have been purposely pushed and put upon the human race, and especially in this day and time, and about the time that some of our children were born. I don't know, but you got huge, like a huge elevated started that you would have never thought, because it would never have crossed your mind. Now, granted, there are some that you just know, like some people are just born this way, right? And I keep this on a level of not knocking, non-judgmental, because I'll tell you what, I will fight for her to the bitter end. But there are certain things that make you go, vaccinations most certainly do, and have with full intention been put in make them gender dysphoric. Okay, don't believe me, don't care. The research is there. All the information is online, and you can find it if you use your noggin and you think about outside the lines, and you think about ways to have that information pulled up while searching online, because of course there is censorship. There is, but I already know. I'm a woman. I'm a mother, individual that is living through this, that has watched it happen and unfold right before my eyes firsthand. Okay, so nobody's going to convince me any different. These shots, these vaccinations, for them to go to public nation that they've had to do. There was an agenda that's been pushed from day one. It's my opinion. This is for entertainment purposes only. We're just discussing some things and live action role play. That's all we're doing. And, guys, with a little wink there, it's real. But like I said, I watched the world change about the time 9/11 was a big area and time of change. Wouldn't you think or say so too, Candy? Did you see a lot of change around the time of the twin tall ones that collapsed one day? It seemed like the whole world kind of started shifting, in my opinion, right around then. And I could be completely wrong, but I know I'm not bat crap crazy. But it seem like things really just snowballed after that?
Well, I mean,
People started
to be
waking
honest
up,
with
maybe.
you, that was when I was going through that trauma myself of having that vision for so long. So I was pretty traumatized over that for like a couple of years. Because
Yeah,
again, I just was so like, why? So, um,
yeah. Hindsight.
yeah, a lot of
I
them.
can't even imagine having that and knowing that, and not knowing it, but knowing it later. That would be
Yeah,
hard.
well,
Gator, you said it right. The spiritual battle is very real on top of that, but it's ramped up so much. He's right. The demonic parasites, and thank you. In my own humble opinion, I do believe parasites are demons, 100%. 100%. I'm starting to wonder the same about fungus. Yet I love mushrooms. I love me some Worcestershire grilled mushrooms, but oh, not those kind of. Although I probably could love those mushrooms too, but that would take me on a bigger trip than. If I'm already seeing what I'm seeing, I don't need to go on that trip because I see that well enough, just plain as day. So, but I mean, and the nanodust, yes, the programmable matter and nanodust, and see, these are the things Candy and I have talked about for over 10 years with the nanodust and the programmable matter, the black goo. All of that is graphene. It's in our bodies. We pull graphene, and the nanoparticulates are not so much nano-sized anymore. It seems also, right, Candy? See, we pulled some pretty good sized stuff from our bodies that shouldn't be in there, but still, yet you can check it out under a microscope, and it's enough to things that make you go for sure, and know solidly that they should never be in your body. But I think this graphene is, since then, the newest tech after the nanoparticulates, and of course those time release capsules. All of that's nanotech in our in the vaccinations, the vaccinations. Yeah, that's what I meant. Algorithm. Yeah, those nanoparticulates are like little bitty tiny robots, and they are going where they want to go, where they've been programmed to go. It's not necessarily where you wanted them to go or you needed them to go. It's where they wanted them to go, and that's what's happening. And the graphene is I think our world, our whole earth is covered in a layer of a biofilm slash type graphene, maybe like that's invisible to the human eye at this point, because we know our skin has layers of this really thick biofilm that would look like skin to most of the world, right, Candy? But it's in fact a biofilm. It's like a man-made, lab engineered biofilm, and it's alive. It's alive in a sense that fits hand in hand with the nanotechnology and the graphene. And again, I know most people think of graphene as in the black, covering sense, but our technology is so much more advanced than what they've ever told us. And we're always going to be about 20 years behind, if not more, with what our technology actually is. And we should have known that because, I mean, from demons, those who fell, technology's been here. Again, nothing new under the sun. Gator says, I have a microscope and I do cleansing often and I can't get rid of them. Maybe knock. Okay, so Gator, Candy, and I can both tell you about that. The microscope is a tall tale sign. You can see them slither into your sometimes why and different things. They run from the microscope light. We know that for sure too. Um, this I'll ask you too after this, but I don't think there is getting rid of something that's constantly raining down in your world on everything. And if it is, in fact, coming from the sky, which I myself firmly hitting your water sources, it's hitting your food sources, your cattle, your free range, having to eat from the land, drink from the water, which is clearly infected. And I know you probably are. I swear up and down that you can knock them down to about 50%. And I swear by the I'm just going to say it. I am not a doctor or a nurse, and nor would I ever push my opinion. But what I do is take the benzoyl for horses, and the brand is safe. Toothpaste size amount. I take it one day, toothpaste size amount, and the second day I take a toothpaste size because a horse is much bigger than us, so you definitely don't want to do that. Nobody would, because I'm not a doctor or a nurse. But the second day I take another toothpaste size amount, and that was the only thing out of everything I tried from the very beginning. Nothing potassium iodide, the Morgan slap cat, whatever his name was. Tried turpentine. I did everything. Candy's done everything. Everybody's different and unique. It is. But here's what worked for me. That, and when I just stopped thinking about it. When I just stopped thinking about it, it just kind of got better. Candy, and I would love to hear with that.
Well, I've said this before. I mean, this stuff thrives on oxygen. So if you can find a way to deplete the oxygen,
Smother them, yeah.
You smother it, which whether it's coating your skin with something thick or either using like phenol essential oils that have like camphor, oregano, thyme, those things. Also, because they're phenols, they'll deplete that oxygen. So what happens when you do that, then they come to the surface and then you're able to get rid of them, which, involves sometimes lesions and rashes. So that's part of it. But I mean, again, I've just found that if you can find a way, whether it's smothering it or whether it's depleting the oxygen with phenols, then they come to the surface, then you're able to get it off of you and get it out of you and then move on to the next one. The next time it comes, do it again,
Yep.
That's what I was telling Lisa tonight. I went to get this little tube of cold sore treatment that has camphor in it and phenol. I've been getting it from Dollar General for years for $1.85. Well, all of a sudden I can't find it. So a friend of mine, she's a manager. I messaged her. I was like, hey, do you have this? She said they discontinued it. I'm like, oh my God. So I went to the Dollar General and they had the Vicks brand, exact same thing, exact same size, exact same ingredients. It was $15.85 a tube.
Unbelievable.
I was furious. And I was like,
unbelievable, for real.
oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me. So
they make
again,
it
there's
harder
a
for us to
liquid
get stuff.
camphofenique. Yeah, there's a liquid camphofenique. It's liquid. I had to go to Walmart to get it, but I took some beeswax and I melted it and I poured that 2 bottles of that in that beeswax and let it mix together. And guess what? I just made my own. So you know what? They can bite me.
Leave it to Candy to be able to figure it out too. I love it. That's the best part,
So
right
yeah,
there.
you can get that liquid. Get that liquid camphofenique and soak a little sponge or whatever you want to do, just and put it right on there and secure it on there and let it. And I'm telling you, the suckers will come to the surface.
Yeah. See, and I think that's what I liked about the I guess the ivermectin or benzoyl, I guess, for horses in a paste. I could never really get mine to come to the surface. I didn't know some of those tricks at the time, but what that did for me is you flush them out, through your bowels or your urine. And my lesions, and I was bad. I mean, and you were, yeah, Candy had one of the worst cases I've ever seen, and she just got cleared up recently. Like, this is the best I've seen her ever look. She looks amazing. And it was almost overnight. And see, that's what happened with me about 5 years ago, almost overnight. And again, my experience was from using that. And then I was just fine. I gave it to God, so to speak. And I just got tired. I was sick of being stressed and sad and beaten down and sent to the loony house when I knew I was perfectly sane, and having your own family send you there, knowing you are perfectly sane and you've never shown any signs and nobody wakes up crazy. And it was a battle. It was a spirit. And I will reiterate, this is a spiritual battle for your soul, in your soul, with your soul and your whole being. And you are fighting, in fact, for your life, and not just this life, your eternal life you are fighting for. And that's what the elements of all of this actually are. And you can chalk it up to, but there, I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way to do things. What I think is that what you are within and how you feel and what your mind might believe works or whatever, when you're at your most comfortable moment, I think that's when things start to look up. But I will still swear by the ivermectin and the fenbenzonol, only because I know it works against the C word, the crown royal V-roll thing. It works against everything. Like I got super sick when I just left for Oregon that first week. I was pouring blood out of my digestive system, just to put it politely. But I mean, I'm not talking like, oh, you got a hemorrhoid or something. I'm talking like somebody stabbed me on the inside, murdered me, and I'm dying. I'm just saying. So I had brought some. So again, I am not a doctor, nor would I ever get. And this is live action role play. But I had purchased some doxycycline for goldfish because that was the only way I could get it. And I took 2 of those. I took a dose of the Safeguard ivermectin for horses. And in 2 days, I wasn't dying anymore. Nobody murdered me on the inside anymore, if you're picking up what I'm putting down. Okay, but what I'm telling you is there's something bigger going on, because then they started talking about this fog coming through with the nanoparticulates, which again, that's been here. All of that's been here. But then they start talking about this new bird flu coming through, which again, it's ever changing, ever morphing, ever just literally gonna conform to whatever and get where it needs to be because it's man-made. But I can swear by, at the end of the day, the one thing that I've always ran to, and most of you who saw my earlier videos and how sick I was, and I showed my face on that, which is not a proud moment to have to show your most beaten down moment. Candy too, when you put your face on a billboard and you show your worst moment of how sick you are, you make yourself vulnerable and you show the whole wide world. It's not your favorite thing to do. You only do it because you want the world to understand and realize how very real this is, how very sick, and actually many kill themselves, many die. I mean, because it could be deadly. But especially if you lose the faith, if you lose the fight, if you don't fight, if you have to have that faith, and like Candy says, stand in your truth. But you have to wake up every day with the I can and not the I'm not. It's a choice. And I would say, 10% mental, 80% spiritual, and 10% physical. It's maybe 20%. I don't know. I'm going to go between the mental and the physical. That's a toss up. But your spiritual part is going to be the most important, and that's where you have to have that soundness, and that's where you got to be dedicated to your spirit and your soul and your maker, in my opinion. Gator says you're correct about your attitude in fixing this, and yes, the doctoring.
And
Yes,
another thing too is, again, it feeds off of your fear. So it does all these freaky things
fear
to you, so
is
you'll
not
freak
your
out and be
friend.
fearful.
Yes, and like Gator said, our urine is pretty bad. Gator, I almost died like 2 years ago. I had sepsis and pneumonia at the same time, and I knew something was deathly wrong. I went to the doctor, which I do not go to doctors. I don't trust them. I have been put through too much. But it was like a do or die thing. I went, they ran blood work. I went home. I went to bed that night, and at 4 a.m., the doctor personally calls me with my phone just ringing. I had like multiple missed calls. I finally heard it on like the 6th ring, and I pick up the phone in my sleep. I'm like, hello. And he's like, hello, this is Dr. Krishnawami. You need to right now get in your vehicle, get somebody to take you immediately to the ER. They're expecting you. They're waiting for you. They will check you in upon your arrival. You need to go now. This is deadly. You have sepsis and pneumonia in the worst form. And I could have told them that, because the day I went to the doctor to have that blood work, they asked for a urine sample, and my urine turned to gel within seconds. And they're like, oh, doctor, look at this, We just got that it's gel. It was like Jello. That should have been enough to tell them. Or when they went to, like Candy also went through, when they went to try to find, my vein to draw the blood, they couldn't get anything in because it was a rock. It was gelled over as well, which should make them think, how does the heart pump? Blood must run freely through it in order to make the heart pump. But if your blood in your artery is also gelled over, this should have made, that's when you really got to question what the F and A is wrong with our doctors, with our medical systems, with the CDC, with the whole wide world, with our families who call us crazy and don't believe. Because keep in mind, your tests will come back negative for anything every time. You can have every blood work ever drawn, and it's going to come back that you are clean and fine. And Candy can tell you all about that too. Except for like sepsis and pneumonia was pretty obvious to them, but the stuff morphs, it hides. It's built with the nanotech, the teeny tiny microscopic things to make your cells shape shift and morph and go into just a normalized, looking and appearing as if they're normalized cells. But Candy, you can go on with your reason if you want to. I mean, she's had many experiences. This stuff hides. So, like all of my tests, I will never forget I will be coming in dying, and they're looking at me and they're like, "You're fine." The test results say you're fine. It's like, my ass, you're looking at a worm in a jar as we speak, moving around with a head like Hercules, and you say, "I'm fine." Your eyes shouldn't lie, but apparently, so. But yeah, I would love for you to, Candy, share that again because it's important. Hello, Kim.
Hi,
Kim is here
Hi,
too.
Kim.
Yay, we got Kim and Gator now. Thank you so much for being here. I know Kim can probably relate to a lot of this too with the treatment and the doctors, but yeah, Candy, if you wouldn't mind, I would love to hear you share that again, just in case I missed it.
Which one? Which one are we talking about now? There's been so many.
Sorry?
What are you? Which one in particular are you talking about? There's been so many different.
Especially the recent one, if you want to, but any of them, because when you're rooms, but you've had that happen to you multiple times as well with these come out normal, but we know the
Yeah, well, the big one for me was that when I got that bacterial infection in my lungs that went systemic. And I went to the hospital. Yep. Yeah, and I kept telling them, there's something in this mucus. Y'all need to culture this mucus. And they just kept ignoring me. And oh, well, your heart's fine, your kidneys are fine, everything's fine. And we ran this, we ran that. Oh, you don't have MRSA, you don't have AIDS. Oh, we ran you for all forms of cancer. You don't have any forms of cancer. And I'm like, how in the hell?
Yeah.
Double hockey sticks. Are you going to tell me everything I don't have, but tell me you don't know what I have? And I'm like, so again, all those tests for what? To come back to tell me you didn't find anything? So, and this guy came in, he's like, well, they sure ran every test on you. I'm like, yeah, cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. And you still didn't find anything? Right? And so my doctor comes in and he's like, oh, you're going home tomorrow. And I'm looking at him like, you lost your mind, dude, because I'm laying up here dying right now. And
yeah.
I mean, they need to culture this mucus. Must have said that 20 times and nobody listened.
Yours happened right after my episode, which was kind of the same thing. Yeah. But yeah, and they never still listened to me either. They were like, you have sepsis and pneumonia. And I'm like, why the hell did my urine turn to gel? Hello. Yeah, it's bizarre.
When the doctor said that, I'm like, okay, where does he get this from? So hour later, they come back, moved me to a private room, and told me I had a what they call it, a form of influenza that was bacterial, and so an hour later, they came in, changed my meds, put me on a different antibiotic. I forget what else they did. Put me on some intravenous steroids.
Know what they did because your little episode happened right after mine, and they did the same thing to you. Yes.
Yeah, and so I went back for a follow up a couple days later, and my doctor said, I took one look at you and I ran your DNA. We had the results in 90 minutes, and I knew
And what
exactly
does
what
that
you
tell
had.
you guys right
And I'm
there?
like,
Her whole DNA was ran.
you ran my DNA
And in 90
in
minutes,
90 minutes.
but
Okay.
how long do prisoners in jail have to wait for any type of DNA results or anything like that? I mean, and they tell you it takes that long. They always tell you, well, we'll have this lab work, but it'll take, months and years. And especially for the prisoners that are like not guilty, but being held in jail or prison for life for something they didn't do. But Candy had hers ran in less than 24 hours. Hello. And keep in mind, here's the funny thing too. I first came down with pretty much what Candy came down with right after me. And again, they never questioned why my blood, although if you watch the documentary Died Suddenly, it will explain to you why people's blood and urine and anything else might turn to a gel like liquid or fluid or non-fluid, because it's more like a clot, but it's more like calamari and it's a foreign substance that shouldn't be there, which also was a result from the CVID shot you in the butt. Um, if you're picking up what I'm putting down, but some of us, a big portion of us, probably all of us here, didn't have that CVID I shot you in the butt thing. We're completely unvaccinated nation. So, but the thing is, they never question that. But there are patents that I can show you, and if you go to like I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 videos back, where I show the patent where it says the stuff morphs, it hides the nanoparticulates will hide in the bloodstream. It will falsify itself as a normal, I guess, blood cell. Normal results will always be had. Mine came back like that every time. Now, keep in mind, my blood pressure, my high number is always in the 200s and my low number is always in the 90s. Now, that's stroke out kind of blood pressure, right? It is not normal. In fact, whenever I went in for this break yesterday, the doctor chased me out the door. I'm like, doctor, you have seen me for the last 10 years. Not very often, especially after I was taken away with, what happened because I have Morgellons and nobody believes. But I'm like, my blood pressure has always been like that. And I am not dead yet. He's like, well, I just want to prescribe you more different medicine. I'm like, you know what? You put me on metoprolol, whatever. You put me on this. You put me on that. And something starts with an A. I can't remember even right now. And I'm like, and none of it changed my blood pressure, did it? And I said, you know what? Here's the difference. I'm not a cookie cutter. In fact, I'm not a cookie at all. And I never fit the cut for the cookie. I'm me. I'm different. I'm unique. And my blood pressure might be high according to what the norm should be. But I am far from normal, doctor. And I think you and I both know that. And I just smiled at him and I got in my car and I backed out. So, because I'm sick of everyone having to believe that you have to be the norm with these certain standards. Your blood pressure must be this must be that, or you'll stroke out. Granted, I did kind of stroke out a little, but I mean, I think I was more stress related at one time. But I mean, I didn't stroke. They caught that before. But the problem is, like, we're not the same. We are all different, complete different chemical makeups. We don't have to be the same. We don't even have to listen to what doctors say, because you know what doctors do? They go to the same damn school that every doctor's been going to, where nothing's changed. Everything's written in a book. And if they discover something new, you're getting it 20 years later, because they already know what's new, the powers that be, hence the title here. But these doctors are getting paid, and it works like if they get somebody well, the next doctor that could have had that person isn't getting paid. They've got to keep you sick. The pharmaceutical companies, they got to keep you always needing more, always having to come back and get something different, where you're never going to get well. And if that is not blatantly obvious in any of y'all's faces right now, I don't know what is, because go ahead and walk over to your kitchen cabinet right now and open that cupboard door that I know you freaking have and count your scripts right now and tell me how many you're having to take just to keep up with the Joneses. Because, yeah, there you go. You're welcome. That's all I got. You're welcome.
Well,
Hi, Woolly Mammoth.
and then
What's that?
if you remember too that this last appointment I had with my doctor, he had ordered some tests for me, which one of them was a type of scan, which I was freaking out about because I knew it was going to make me sick.
Yeah.
So I detoxed my little butt off ahead of time, and I went and had the scan. And then afterwards, I was like, I didn't get like throwing up like I typically do, but I just got a really bad headache and I had like inside body shakes and just I was
Yeah.
miserable and I was grouchy, I was mean.
It'll do
So
that.
I get home. Within the next day, the doctor's office called me and they said, "Oh, well, we just want to let you know we got your test results back and everything was clear, but he wants you to take this other test." And I told you that's when I was like, "What for?"
Yeah.
I went off on her. I was like, "What
I mean, like,
for?"
we have
And
PTSD for real, just like the soldiers would for what we go through. And I know you guys can relate to that. It's terrifying.
yeah, and I went off on her, and I was like, "Why?" I had to detox for 3 weeks before I had this last test, and thank God I did because guess what? It didn't make me sick as it typically does, but I'm still suffering from that
Right.
test. I was like, now he wants to put another one on me for what? Explain to me for what?
Because we're guinea
And
pigs,
she's
we're
like,
lab rats, and that's what. Like, everyone knows my story about me sitting in the CDC for, I mean, the biggest CDC in the world in Houston, sitting there for over 17 hours next to actual, you know, drug users and actual disease related individual, like with diseases that came from the street. When you're so sick that you'll go and you'll sit there and you'll curl up on that person's lap or shoulder because you know you're dying, you feel like you're dying, that's got to speak for itself. But when the CDC doesn't even look, they come in for like 30 seconds, they hear what you got to say, and they walk out and they come back with a script to go see a psychiatrist, or the cops coming and knocking on your door and taking you away like they did me, away from my young daughter at the time. And I know many of you have heard this, some of you have not, but here's the point. You might like it's like the same person being behind bars that didn't commit the murder. It's not cool. Nobody wakes up crazy. And when we are sitting in the CDC, honey, let me tell you what, the CDC is the biggest liars of all. And they are right there hand in hand with those powers that be. That would include your Freemasons, that would include your elitists, that would include your whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to call it.
well,
And it's a one world
hey,
order and has been again on your dollar bills, says it right in your face. But yeah, you realize
well,
how corrupt our world is at that moment.
and the rest of that story was when I was trying to explain to her how sick these tests make me, and I was already weak and vulnerable. I was literally crying.
Yeah.
I started hyperventilating. I couldn't breathe. I was upset. And I told her, I said, you know what? I have an appointment with him this Thursday.
How
That
I
was on a
was when they're
Tuesday.
dragging me away from my
I said,
child.
let me wait and discuss this with him. And she's like, okay, no problem. So then I called Lisa afterwards because I was so upset. And I was like, I wonder if they record those phone calls because
I
he
told
needed
you
to
they
hear
have
them.
to record them. I'm like, you better go ask them.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So I called back and they did not record it because I wanted him to hear that recording. That's how it affected me, just the thought of it. And they said no, that they didn't. So then I called the office manager and I was like, you know what? Whoever I had that conversation with, I need her to go and tell him exactly
Yeah.
how I reacted and what happened during that
Yep.
conversation.
I told you
And
to
so,
tell him that too. And by the way, Gator, you say your wife Candy, and Candy, he's got his wife's name is Candy as well. That she's listening. Candy on Gator's side, I need you to listen to me, honey. You are going through something horrible and extreme, as is your husband, and I want you to know that we are on your side. We are here for you guys if you need us on any level. Between Candy and I both, we have many things that we could offer as far as advice goes. But the one thing I know for certain is this right here in your heart that you feel that beats every day, that the same one that provides the love that you feel for your family and your children and for each other, that and your maker, those are the two best tools that you can have and utilize that's going to pull you through this. And the other thing I want to say is you're not alone. I promise, like I was literally dragged away from my child. I was the only parent she had. Her father wasn't in the picture. I had two police officers knock on my door and take me from her. I had never missed a play, a basketball game, anything from that child. She was my life, my pride and joy. I just happened to get sick with the same thing that more than likely you all are experiencing, Candy and I, and so many hundreds and thousands and millions of others at this point worldwide. But I had a family that didn't believe and just suddenly thought I woke up one day crazy. And I want to tell you that that took a huge, enormous piece of my heart and my trust at that time. But I didn't let it defeat me. And I refused to. And what I can tell you right now is you are definitely so much stronger than you know. And I want you to look at it this way. Right now, what your body's doing is rejecting all of the bad impurity type things that have been introduced to our bodies since birth. And trust me, Candy and I have done extensive research. And there's truly, in my own humble opinion, but wise opinion, because I've spent hours upon end, so as has Candy, this has been introduced to our system. You are a fortunate one. You and Gator both are lucky and fortunate. Your body's rejecting this. But when you immediately start getting rid of this, whether you even see the evidence or not, it puts your body through a type of a shock, which would some would call herxing. You're not, like, your body's not used to not having that inside of it because it always has had it inside of it. Just like my sepsis and pneumonia, which I don't believe was, but I do believe it was all the impurities. And again, Candy got it right after me. And I was in ICU for 2 weeks, and as was she right after that. But the thing is, we don't realize at the time. They tell us that our bodies are weak, and that's why we're sick, and that's the only reason, because we're just so puny and so weak. When in all
Yeah. And
actuality, it's the other way around,
do you
right?
need anything?
Right. So it is the other way around. And just if you keep that in your head, keep God at the helm especially, but keep it in your head that, okay, I'm sick right now. I don't feel like very well. I feel like, crap at its finest. But remind yourself that your body is rejecting the impurities. I promise you there are better days ahead. I promise you. I told you what I did. Candy's told you what she did, and everybody, as well as everybody, is different. But I could almost swear by those two things. I mean, that I did. And it doesn't matter which. I just change it up every once in a while, and you don't want to do that too much. But I mean, those two times, one day after the other, and then I wait months. But what I'm telling you is you're fortunate. You're going to get through this, and you're also called upon. The fact that you both have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, God has chosen ones. I mean, plain as day, He has chosen people, and some may not be knowing their place. Some do. Kat, I am. Hello, how are you? She's one. Um,
Hey,
I'm telling, like, everyone on here, Kim, you guys are all chosen. And I don't mean it like, oh, we're just so way more special than anyone else. I don't mean it at all like that. What I mean is, like, we didn't sign up for this. We never dreamed any of this. We wouldn't have dreamed we'd be sick. We wouldn't have dreamed we'd see the stuff that we're seeing. But when Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound, I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, but now I see, kind of gives that a whole new different meaning, doesn't it? So start believing within, and I'm not going to lie, it's going to suck. The sickness sucks. But believe in yourself, give it to God, stand in your truth, like Candy says, live in your faith, and do try those things. I don't believe there's 100% getting rid of any of this, but we are here for a reason. That's because you're a warrior, you're a fighter. Hello, Crystal. Anyone here that's tuning in, you already know you're one of the chosen, called upon, and you're seeing with the eyes to see and the ears to hear for a reason. So I just need you guys to listen very closely. You are loved. You're going to get through this. And sadly, but maybe amazingly, we're here till the end. It's just not real cool how it's happening, but nothing could have prepared us for this, even though it was written. But we got this. We got this. And Gator, give her a big hug for me. And I think I might have put my number on here a million times, but have her call me. I would love to talk to you. I'm not sure, Candy, if you feel up to it, but if you trust me, my name is Lisa. I grew up in Bloomfield, 1990 graduating class. So yes, I'm old. My number is 832-520-3535. I'm here for you guys. I just want you to know that. Just want you to know that. And hello, Crystal. Crystal says, why are we chosen for the gifts we have? Why? Oh, wait. She says, question, why we are chosen for the gifts we have. So are you asking some
You
questions?
know what? You know what? And I say this. I
Well, I
used
mean,
to
am I understanding
I
the
was
question
suffering,
correctly? Because,
well, I was suffering so badly, and I kept thinking to myself, why is this
oh,
happening to
I see
me?
what she's asking now. Yeah.
Why is this happening to me? Why?
Why did
Why?
Jesus get crucified?
Yeah. And so, and
That's
then
what I
one day
say.
I was like, you know what? Stop asking why is this happening to me,
Why
and
not me,
change
right?
it. Why not? Why not? So
Yeah.
if why not me? So if it
Yeah,
is
I
me,
totally, yes.
if
I
it
wasn't
is me,
understanding how she meant that. Yes, Crystal, that is why, because you are stronger than most. You're a warrior. God knows our limits. Jesus Christ didn't ask to be crucified or condemned. He was a perfect soul. I am far from perfect. And trust me, when I was put away, knowing my innocence, having to leave my baby girl behind in my family, not even calling to check on me, just left me for dead, even though I never had an insane moment in my life, never lied, no history of it. That's why we
yeah.
we got a
And
little bit of a
again,
taste of what Jesus went through, but because we are being conditioned to be the warriors that we are made to be for the storm.
and
That's
again,
why.
you can sit around and you know you're going through stuff, yeah, but you have choices. Are you living to die, or are you dying to live? So when you think about, if you're going to be going through this, let it serve a greater purpose. So there has to be a greater purpose to everything in order for you to grow past it. So you won't grow past it
Exactly.
as long as you stay in that negative state. But when you turn it around and change it into a positive, it's like, okay, well, what I got this. What am I going to do about it? I'm not going to sit here and whine about it. You
Yeah,
know what?
and we did though. We're human
Yeah,
too, and trust
yeah,
me, we had our moments. But
yeah,
I
but
have to
we
tell you,
live and
Crystal,
learn.
too. Yeah, yeah. I have to tell you though, like we don't we have 18-year-old boys that sign up to go to war to fight for our so-called country, even though it's all a scam in my opinion. But they
Mm,
go through boot camp and they go through this militant conditioning, and then they do go to war and they lose their friends right beside them, in battle and combat. And I kind of look at this in essence as the Lord knows his soldiers from day one. They were chosen from day one. But no soldier can go to war without the proper boot camp and the conditioning. And I look at it, I try to look at it like that, and then also looking at and the fact that our Lord Jesus Christ, who was persecuted and was completely innocent. Lord knows I'm not, but like I said, I was at the time that I was taken from my baby girl, and I was all she had, and my family didn't care an iota about me. And to this day, I have a PTSD, just like soldiers get from that. But I'm overcoming it, and just going to the doctor for this broken hand yesterday, I cannot tell you how much it took for me to go, or Candy for her recent doctor visit and testing. It is hard to make yourself okay with seeing someone that you can't trust. And I mean, it's just kind of that simple. But just remember, you've been wearing your full armor from day one, all day long, and you're just going through boot camp because you were made and built to be the warrior that you are, and people are going to need you. They're going to look up to you and need your assistance, and it's our job, all of us here, to get our brothers and sisters home. So when you realize that that's the weight that you're carrying, and it is kind of a lot, but it makes the mission so much more important, and your heart so much more involved. And I'm telling you, Crystal, you're a warrior. You were built for this. You were made for a time such as this.
yeah,
And
and
here we
and
are.
again,
And you
again,
too,
if I
Kat.
wasn't If I wasn't standing in my own truth and fighting with everything I believe in, then I wouldn't have the excellent, most wonderful doctor that I have now. Because guess
And
what?
I
If I
won't
would have
have any, and I
stopped,
don't trust any. That we're different on that case, but yes.
no, I'm
But
just
she
saying,
did
if
get
I
the
would have
job done.
stopped, yeah,
Yeah.
if I would have stopped and hunkered down and been ashamed and afraid to speak up, and I w- I would have never got this guy, you know. And I'm like, I'm so blessed. I'm just blessed to have him, and I'm
Yes,
like, I thank God.
she
And
is.
then,
And
yeah,
I'll
and I
give
was
her
telling
that
Lisa,
too. But the truth is that we're not going to get well by them. And I
yeah, and I
guess
was
that's
telling
where we need
Lisa,
to understand that.
but no, and he understands that. See, this is my
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
He understands that because he lets me tell him what I need, and he gives it to me. You know, I
Yeah.
can say, "Hey, I need
That's
this, I need
awesome.
that." No problem, no problem, no problem. You know,
Yeah,
I'm
and
like,
Texas is not the same. And you would think that's like I said with the CDC here, but then I realized the root of all evil does actually exist in certain locations. But I just know that God gives us what we need. And in your case, you were persistent and you kept going. You're like, no, I'm not taking no for an answer. And she did, in fact, land an amazing, amazing man. And I think he might be a chosen one as well because amazing people don't grow on trees and they don't have ears to hear and eyes to see unless they actually listen and actually look, and he did. So I mean that says something right there. He's not just a doctor, he's God's friend and God's
yeah.
son, and
And
I
I
think
told
that's how you look at that.
yeah, and I told my husband, I was like, man, I was like, I wondering how much trouble he got into for running my DNA like that. Because after he
I
did
think it's
that, all
awesome
the
that he
rest
did
stopped.
it, but
Yeah,
then
but I'm just
why don't we
saying,
do that for innocent people, you know?
right. But you know, after
Yeah.
he did that, then there was no reason for them to go test me with all those other things. So guess what? That's where the
Yeah.
money stopped.
And
So
see,
I
that
don't
tells
really
you right there he
again.
wasn't one of the almighty dollar chasers because I mean the whole medical system, and I'm sure Crystal is saying right now that that's the reason she left the medical field. We already know that it is a system for a reason, and one is feeding the other. So no matter how it works, whether it's the pharmacy, the pharmaceuticals, or the doctors, the specialists, or the surgeons, one is always going to be feeding the other with one single person being handed around fresh meat and old meat and dead meat eventually. But yeah, I think the Lord works in mysterious ways, and I think He worked through me by showing me like I don't have to trust the medical system because they're in fact. I mean, I did try, but honestly, I don't even. I guess I'm so past that now. I know that there's a strength within us. I watch it in you. I see it in me. I see it in so many. I've seen it in Kat, Kim, Gator. You're showing some major, major strength. And your wife, I can already tell she's a warrior. And Crystal, I am already seeing right now, if you left the medical field, you are a freaking warrior. You're a badass. Um, I see
Hey,
miracles happening every day, and it's amazing and beautiful to see.
yeah, and
So,
just to let everybody know, just for the record, I got my statement from my insurance company after I had gotten released from the hospital, like a month or two later. So all the they list everything that they gave me and all the tests and everything that they did while I was there for those days. And I looked at all the blood work, right? It was all the same. So all the blood work they did was exactly the same as far as what it cost the insurance company. So it's not like it was an expensive test, okay? So you can't let them fool you and say, "Oh, well, we can't afford to run your DNA." Because guess what? It was the same price of every other blood test I had. So it was no different. It was no higher and no less.
you know what? I have to hold on just a moment because I just read something that absolutely touched my heart to no end. So, Crystal just shared something beautiful. And I think this is one of the most beautiful things I can mention in front of the world here that she said. And if you can't read the comments, I'll read it for you. A little off topic, but my late husband wasn't a believer, and he had a complete stranger pray with him. And he said Jesus was there, and it was time for him to stop fighting and go home. And I think that right there just gave me chills, shivers, and made my heart almost sore because that is in fact how the Holy Spirit, how the Lord God Almighty works. He works just like that. And when people say stuff like that, that's how you know the truth right in your face. That's how you know that they've seen the face of God, the face of their Savior, and the strength that was given to them to go on home where they needed to be. And that means he was saved by the grace of God, quite literally. And thank you, Crystal, for sharing that. That was beautiful. I mean, that just, I'm not going to lie, I'm fighting tears right now. That touched my heart in so many ways. And if the world could only understand and see that this mop and this flesh and blood and these injuries and these wrinkles on my neck and everything that's drooping on anyone or anything, this is temporary. This is a vehicle to get us from point A to point B. We were never put here for pleasure or for, good times or for happiness, laughs, and, like just a hoot of a time at the bar. We weren't put here for that. We were put here with great purpose. Each and every single soul was placed here on earth by the Lord God Almighty Himself, some having different strengths, some being in different areas, and maybe some just not knowing it. But the point is, we were put here to make a difference, to hold out our hands and to lead the lost home. And we still feeling lost ourselves because we're human, because we are, and because we feel lost sometimes, because that's never going to change. We can't just wake up every day and lie to everyone and say, you know what, I know exactly who I am, where I'm going, what I'm doing, because I do believe we might all be lying if we said that. I have days like that, but the next day is going to be different. You know why? Because at the end of the day, I'm still the same bag of flesh and bones in a vehicle that's getting me from point A to point B. But I know where I'm going to go for all eternity. And what my calling is here is not to live in peace, happiness, and bliss. And trust me, I had all of it robbed from me at an early age. I haven't had any of that since. I've been battling and doing and going at it alone as a single mom, a single woman with nobody with other than my own backbone. And when I thought I couldn't, guess what? He showed me that I could. He showed me that I could when I thought, I can't do this alone. I can't pay my bills alone. How am I going to do this? My daughters need a daddy, my this, my that. And he said, shut up, Lisa. Be still and know that I'm God. He told me that. He said it in scripture. He said it in verse. And my whole house, everything you read on my walls is nothing but that. Everything you see is be still and know that I'm your God. And so if you have to put little happy reminders around you in your home and your place of dwelling when nothing else is good going outside that door, or nothing else is going on good, I should say, when you go outside the door, just put those little reminders, because then you remember why you're here, what you're placed here for, who you're here for. And it's not for you. You weren't put here for you and the smiles on your faces and the joys and pleasures brought to you. I mean, that's nothing more than a public works announcement. We were put here for others. We were put here to hold our hands out, to grasp on tightly, to look them in the eye and say, I love you. I love you. You're worthy. You can do this. That's why we're here. It's not about what ails us. It's about how can we heal the world spiritually. That's all I got. That's all I got. But I hope it's enough. So, love you guys. Candy, I know it's late. And I love you to death. You're just a brat. I don't like her at all. I'm sorry. I had to say that because she hates it whenever I brag on her. She literally is my world though, Candy, and I will not stop saying that. You are such an amazing blessing. So thank you for who you are and your battle every day, and you're standing up for the human race and our whole world. And all of you that are doing the same, and Kat, I know you do. Crystal, you got this, sunshine. Gator, you and Candy, your wife. What a beautiful name, by the way. Two Candies. I'm surely going to treasure her just as much. Nothing
And
better. But
Kim. And Kim.
Kimberly, I know it's Kimberly at the end of the day, but I'm going to call you Kim. I just want you to know You are a beautiful treasure, a beautiful blessing. And I know you're feeling alone right now, and I know it's hard because I'm so right there with you. But I'm here, and I'm not far from you, I don't think. So one day, just need to pick up the phone and call me. And Candy, Gators Candy, call me 832-520-3535. I have no shame in my game. I'm a private investigator, so if they investigate me, I investigate them back. It's plain and simple, quite easily. So, but you're here for purpose, with great purpose. You were called upon, you were chosen, and I was going to show you some videos. And right now, what I see in the sky, to me, and tonight was crazy, it's just not near as important as just spreading the message that Candy and I and you guys were all trying to convey just this evening. To me, people first, not drones or UFOs or aliens, because we ain't worshiping no alien. We're here for the fight, and we are in full armor. And you're welcome, Big Pharma, and your Shadow Gov, and all the I don't even know, not worth mentioning, but yep, just like that, that happened. So yep, much love, guys. Kat, I'm glad to see you. Love you for you. She's been in the battle for a while too. So Crystal, hang tough, sunshine. You got this. We are in the fight. Love you, Candy.
Good night, everybody.
Bye,
Next time.
guys. You have
All
a
right,
blessed
bye.
one. See you soon. I promise it'll be